Craig Brown for the Correctional Education Division of the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. Colonel Chavez already mentioned our issue. This jail ed program provides 8,000 units of ADA in the jails at the magnificent cost of $2,000 per ADA. There's a huge state interest in maintaining this program, especially after correctional realignment, where you made local government more responsible for rehabilitation. To go and jeopardize their tool at this time would be a big mistake. The inmates have no advocacy program. There aren't going to be a line of inmates lined up speaking for this at the local allocation boards. You probably need to make sure that you take care of the state's interest in this program and maintain the existing program.
Mr. Chairman, members, Bob Blattner on behalf of the Elk Grove Unified School District. We're the one district in the county of Sacramento that provides all of the jail ed. We support our colleagues. Mr. Brown's comments are open to any questions you have locally if you want to take a look at the program. And finally, would respectfully suggest any people look at the LAO study from 2008 about how important and cost effective this program is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark McDonald, McCallum Group, on behalf of a number of local community college districts, Los Rios, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, Kern, Yosemite, Peralta. And to not take up too much time here, I want to associate many of my comments with Ms. Burns from the Mount San Antonio Community College District, but also bring up a number of other concerns that we have, specifically on the governance structure. One of the things that we're concerned about is the voice of the community college district being muted. For example, in Los Rios, the community college district has 15 K-12 districts that it's working with, and so ensuring that the community college district has an equal voice with those K-12 districts and how this is brought to fruition is important. The other thing is that community colleges, even those that have not been doing a lot of non-credit work, have been doing a lot of this work in the credit area. They've been doing basic skills, CTE programs in the credit area. They're ready to take on this mission and move into adult education. Finally, I wanted to compliment the Department of Finance and the administration for trying to tackle this. This is an important issue, and we're willing to work and ready to work with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm Pam Garamoni, and I'm with Napa Valley Adult Education at the moment. I'm also the former principal in Sonoma Valley Adult Education. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I believe, the representative, or the assembly member from San Francisco mentioned an issue of location. And in Sonoma County, which is a very large county, there are 5 adult schools that have been closed. So there's 1 adult school and 1 community college left. So I guess I'm, from the last speaker, kind of speaking a little bit for the school districts there. There are at least 6 school districts that no longer have adult education. And that's going to be a huge job for those 2 agencies that are left to deal with that very large county. And so funding really kind of needs to get directly to the school districts. Otherwise, their voice will also be muted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Francisco Javier Pinedo with Soledad Adult School. And I'm a product of Soledad Adult School, and I finished high school, the first one in my family to finish high school, go to college, get my teaching credential, my multiple subject, single subject, adult, and CTE credential. And I'm the first one in my family that's not working in the fields of Soledad in the Salinas Valley. And I just want to say on behalf of myself and my 400 students at Soledad Adult School, thank you very much. And in the words of the great Cesar Chavez, sí se puede. Thank you.
Sí puede. Thank you. No more outside, are we sure? Okay. Okay, thank you. Any more comments from committee members? I think we've heard it all today, and certainly want to acknowledge everybody for coming and participating. I think hearing from the panel up here, we all love adult education, know its role in California, serving many diverse communities in many different ways, and want to make sure that we do it right and to make sure it makes sense for everybody. So we're going to hold this item open until later in the budget process. Thank you. Next item is, let's get back to our K-12 mandates. Okay. Department of Finance, then LAO.
Good morning. Shirley Dye with the Department of Finance. The Budget Act of 2014-15 provided $450 million in mandate backlog payments to the K-12 and California community colleges. This year's governor's budget follows the same path the administration's commitment to pay down the wall of debt by providing approximately $1.5 billion towards the mandates backlog, bringing the two-year total to $1.9 billion and leaving an outstanding balance of approximately $4 billion. The governor's budget also provides approximately $1.7 million to the K-12 mandates block grant for the Pertussis mandate. Funding provided by the block grant is allocated on average daily attendance, with the intent of these funds to be prioritized for the support the implementation of Common Core standards. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Seeing no questions, LAO.
Good morning. Jamil Naqvi, LAO. This morning, I wanted to provide a little bit of background on our estimate of the mandates backlog. It's a little bit different from the administration's. And then provide some information on our assessment and recommendations relating to the pertussis or whooping cough mandate, as well as the hepatitis B mandate that the legislature had made some changes to, and a proposal to provide a cost of living increase to the mandates block grants. So first of all, in the governor's budget, they are estimating the current mandates backlog of unpaid claims of $5.7 billion. We are estimating $4.2 billion. Just to explain the difference between those two numbers, it's principally three factors. First, we estimate there could be approximately $940 million in potential offsets to existing mandates. Now, this is statutory language that we've adopted and budget bill language that we've adopted that requires LEAs to use state funds they're already receiving to offset the cost of those mandates. This strategy is currently in some active litigation, but in our forecast, we assume that the state prevails in this litigation. That's the largest difference between our estimate and the governor's. Secondly, their estimate, because it's based on the state controller's recent estimate of the backlog, doesn't include $450 million in payments in the 2014-15 year towards the K-12 and community college backlog. And finally, we make a small adjustment of about $170 million in estimated reductions from audits that the state controller will likely be performing on the mandates backlog. So that explains the $1.5 billion difference between the governor's estimate of $5.7 billion and our estimate of $4.2 billion of the existing mandates backlog. Now, the governor, as you've heard, is proposing $1.5 billion payment towards a backlog in 2015-16. We are estimating only about $1.3 billion of this will actually go towards reducing the backlog. That's because some of these claims will not will go towards entities that have no active claims. The main group of these is charter schools, which do not have any active claims, as well as other LEAs that have no claims or their the payments that they'll be receiving from the mandates backlog payment exceed the number of active claims that they have on file. factoring in that leakage of those payments, we estimate that the remaining backlog would be approximately $2.9 billion after the governor's payments. So on the backlog issue, we are recommending adopting the governor's proposal. We believe it's consistent with past practice of using one-time funds to pay down outstanding obligations, and we believe that the per-student basis addresses our longstanding concerns with uneven mandate claiming practices and substantial cost differences between how LEAs are claiming for performing the same activity. Next, I want to talk about the pertussis or whooping cough mandate that you've heard about. To provide some background, the legislature in 2010 adopted this mandate for 7th graders to receive vaccination for whooping cough. This was in addition to an existing mandate that required all students to receive whooping cough vaccination prior to first entry, typically kindergarten. We believe that this mandate addresses a key public health concern, as some of you have probably read about. There were major outbreaks in California in 2010 and in 2014. This mandate is also consistent with the Federal Centers for Disease Control recommendations, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and a majority of states. Further, we think this mandate likely reduced the severity of the 2014 outbreak. We know that 98% of the affected middle school population was vaccinated, and that group of students had lower rates of infection compared to others who had not been recently vaccinated. In terms of the cost of that mandate, we believe that the statewide costs are likely higher than the administration's estimate of $1.7 million. Our understanding is that that estimate is based on the statewide cost estimate, which only reflects 172 claims that have actually been filed out of approximately 950 districts in the state. So we developed an estimate based on the median cost of performing this activity, and we estimate it could be $4.5 million on a statewide basis. So based on those factors, we recommend adding the whooping cough or pertussis mandate to the mandates block grant for K-12 schools, and adding $4.5 million to cover the statewide cost of that mandate. Next, I want to talk about immunization mandate we have for hepatitis B. At the same time that the legislature implemented the whooping cough mandate in 2010, it also eliminated an existing requirement for 7th graders to be immunized for hepatitis B. That's because it was felt that this mandate was no longer necessary, and the appropriate students had already been vaccinated at that point. Now, the requirement is still in place despite the change in statute, which is concerning to us, and LEAs are still claiming for that. They've claimed approximately $1.7 million since that requirement was eliminated by the legislature. So we believe that approximately $1.5 million in the K-12 block grant is associated with that 7th grade requirement for hepatitis B. So we would recommend, consistent with legislative actions and intent, reducing the K-12 block grant for mandates by $1.5 million, and requesting that the Department of Finance seek redetermination of that mandate, which is part of a larger mandate relating to hepatitis B immunization, to remove that 7th grade requirement, so LEAs are no longer required to perform that activity. Finally, we're recommending applying a cost of living adjustment to the K-12 and community college block grants. We believe it's important to maintain the purchasing power of that block grant to ensure that our local educational agencies continue to participate in that program. And we think it's consistent with the state's approach of applying a cost of living increase to other categorical programs that are funded outside of the local control funding formula. We've estimated that applying the 1.5% COLA to the block grants would cost approximately $3.5 million for K-12 schools and $513,000 for community colleges. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Department of Education.
Good morning, Monique Ramos on behalf of the Department of Education. The department is pleased to see the additional investment provided to pay down the K-12 mandate block grant. In addition, we are in support of including the whooping cough into the block grant. We do agree with the LAO's recommendation on providing the cost of living adjustment increase in order to continue to encourage LEAs to participate in the block grant and not go back to filing separate claims. Here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Community colleges?
Yes, hi. Dan Troy, Vice Chancellor of Fiscal Policy for the California Community Colleges. We're supportive of the governor's proposal to provide funds to pay down the backlog. We're also supportive of the proposal to do it across the board per FTS for some of the reasons cited by the LAO. Some small and rural districts don't have the resources to claim as aggressively as some of the larger districts do, so we think it's fair to spread the dollars evenly across the state the way the governor has proposed. We also agree with the LAO's comments that the state should be providing a COLA. The bulk of these reimbursement costs are likely to lie in personnel costs, and those go up over time, probably more or less in line with COLA, so we think that's a reasonable approach to apply.
Thank you. Okay. Questions or comments from committee members? Hearing none. Do we have any public comment on this item? How about on the side?
Good morning, members of the committee. Martha Alvarez on behalf of San Diego Unified School District. We support the governor's $1.1 billion appropriation for K-14 mandate repayment, and we encourage the committee to look into any new one-time money come the May revision to be appropriated for the same purpose. We also support the LAO's recommendation to add the 1.58% COLA for the mandate block grant. We do have one concern that's more technical in nature, so I'll be following up with the committee staff and in writing. It has to do with the audit risk for any districts that have mandate claims outstanding. Our concern is that if the controller did an audit in the future, our mandate backlog could be reduced in the future, whereas charter schools and school districts without current mandates would not have that audit risk and would just get the money 100%. So it's technical. It's in the provision of the governor's language, in the trailer budget language, so I'll follow up with staff and provide that more technical detail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Mack with the Association of California School Administrators. We certainly support the governor paying down the mandated reimbursement mandated claims. However, we think it should be delinked from an investment in Common Core funding. We believe as an association that an investment in Common Core is very important and that the state should provide some additional resources for Common Core, and that's something we're looking forward to. But it should be delinked from a payment for mandates. Thank you.
Questions or comments from committee members? Hearing none, this item we will hold open until the May revision. Next item, issue number 3, Career Technical Education Incentive Grant. Good morning. Thank you. Department of Finance.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. I'm Megan Stanton-Trahan from the Department of Finance. So the administration's proposed Career Technical Education Incentive Grant Program is an education and workforce development initiative intended to provide students with the knowledge and skills critical to successfully transition into employment or higher education. The purpose of this proposal is to encourage and maintain CTE programs meeting high-quality standards as we transition from the early to the later years of implementing the local control funding formula. This proposal is also an acknowledgement that CTE programs provide valuable education and training to California students, particularly those students at risk for dropping out of school. This proposal is also a recognition that CTE programs require large amounts of upfront costs and capital, and that they are expensive to run. CTE is currently undergoing a transition within the culture of K-12 education from a categorical program viewed by many local educational agencies as something outside of regular core instruction to now being part of the core services that all districts must address in their local control and accountability plans. In terms of the key components of the proposal, this is a 3-year competitive grant program administered by the Department of Education and funded with 3 annual installments of $250 million in Proposition 98 General Fund. Applicants can be 1 or more school districts, county offices of education, charter schools, or regional occupational centers. To be eligible for the program, applicants will be required to meet minimum eligibility standards, including providing a dollar-for-dollar match for any state funding received, demonstrating a plan to continue funding CTE after this program expires, and providing a high-quality program. Components of a high-quality program include having courses aligned with the California CTE model curriculum standards, maintaining industry partnerships, providing opportunities for work-based learning, and providing partnerships with post-secondary institutions. For awards to be renewed in the 2nd and 3rd years of the program, grant recipients will be required to demonstrate that they have achieved positive student outcomes, including coursework completion, high school graduation, and the attainment of industry-recognized credentials. The administration had extensive stakeholder engagement when developing this proposal, and we think it is a solid framework that will encourage and sustain high-quality CTE programs as we transition from the early to the later years of the local control funding formula. With that, I will keep my presentation brief and will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Department of Education.
Good morning. Monique Ramos on behalf of State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson. The superintendent supports the governor's proposal for the Career Technical Education Incentive Grants. We do have 2 concerns. First, we're concerned about using the Career Partnership or the Career Pathway Trust dollars as match dollars, given that essentially you're using one-time dollars as match dollars. We think that if the intent is this to be a bridge until we get to full implementation of LCFF, that there should be actual permanent dollars that are used as a match. Additionally, we continue to have concerns with the State Board of Education's role in this proposal. Taking the grant awards to the State Board of Education will slow getting the dollars out the door. State Board of Education only meets every other month, and it would likely slow down that process. We would instead suggest that including a State Board of Education member on the grant development process in order to talk about what the RFP should look like and getting those dollars out the door. And then the department is happy to provide annual or regular updates to the State Board of Education. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? Oh, you already went. LAO. LAO?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Oh, they both.
Natasha Collins, Legislative Analyst's Office. I'll be speaking from a handout, which the sergeant has distributed. Yep. We'll give our response to the governor's CTE proposal, but first we thought it would be helpful to provide a little bit of background and context on CTE in high schools in the state. You'll see on page 1 a figure that describes the 15 CTE industry areas that have been developed by the California Department of Education. They include a wide range of areas, which include what we consider to be more traditional vocational education, like manufacturing, construction, agriculture, as well as others that we might not, such as information technology, arts and media, and finance, for example. CTE at high schools is funded in various ways through categorical programs, which provide restricted funds, foundation funding, and federal funds, as well as or unrestricted funds like the Local Control Funding Formula funds, or LCFF. The largest categorical fund has traditionally and historically been regional occupational centers and programs, which, as the name implies, are regionally focused centers, sometimes operated through a JPA agreement of school districts at a large district or at a county office of education, and offer aligned CTE coursework. In 2009, the ROCP program was subject to categorical flexibility. As you've heard early in the hearing, adult education was. And so the funds for regional occupation centers and programs could be used towards any educational purpose to deal with budget cuts that the state was undergoing. Despite this flexibility, ROCPs were largely maintained when compared to other categorical programs. In a survey that our office conducted, it was found that they were the least likely to have been cut during this time of categorical flexibility. In 2013-14, with the advent of LCFF, the ROCP funds were rolled into the formula, but a 2-year maintenance of effort was placed on ROCP programs, meaning that providers had to spend whatever they spent in 12-13 for the next 2 years, with the maintenance of effort sunsetting in July of this year, 2015. The intent was that this would be a transition period to which schools could start putting their LCFF funds towards CTE programming beginning in 2015-16. To help schools do that, there was a higher base rate for K through 12 students, as well as a 2.6% add-on to accommodate for the higher costs of educating high school students, including the higher costs of CTE that were described earlier. Page 3 provides an overview of the governor's proposal, which Department of Finance went over. I would only add that the governor's proposal doesn't mention the sunset of ROCP, and so therefore it allows the ROCP program to sunset into LCFF this summer. Page 4 provides our assessment and recommendations of the governor's proposal. The local control funding formula was created in order to give locals more flexibility on how they serve their student needs, and instead instill strong accountability measures to ensure that districts were serving students appropriately. With that in mind, the governor's proposal is inconsistent with the state's new approach to state funding through the LCFF, in that it creates a short-term categorical program which could lead to more fragmentation and less coordination across the system. We believe that accountability systems in concert with LCFF are how the state can ensure that districts are providing career technical education to students. In fact, the local control accountability plans, as 2 of their state priority areas, include student achievement and student engagement. Research has shown that when CTE courses are offered, students are more engaged and achieve more. So we believe that CTE is already a core part of the state's accountability system. Moreover, a data requirement within the LCAP and soon to be included in the state's academic performance index are college and career readiness indicators. So there's been an explicit inclusion of these indicators within accountability that the state has put forth. With these considerations in mind, we recommend rejecting the governor's CTE proposal and continuing to focus on accountability. If we hold schools accountable for providing CTE, that will be their incentive. We don't have a special categorical program, for example, that students offer geometry because it's measured, and that's how we ensure that schools offer it. We recommend that the legislature ask how the progress in including college and career, and specifically career readiness indicators, is going in accountability measures such as the LCAP and API. And if the legislature is dissatisfied and you'd like to include stronger accountability measures, we could work towards including those moving forward. Thank you very much.